Okay. Yeah. I'm just checking if this worked. Okay, so this worked. I'm not a big I am not a big PowerPoint user. This is my first time ever using PowerPoint. So how's everybody doing? Hope everyone's fine. Ooh. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I've been trying to get back in the groove of things. We're trying to do 2 episodes a week. I put a post up on the Champagne Sharks page. You look at the post, it has a vote, and most people are voting for weekdays, 6 to 9 p.m. So it looks like that's probably what we're going to be doing, even though we started at 9 today, because I haven't figured out the exact schedule yet. I wanted to see what was going to win first. And yeah, so when we have an actual regular time, when we pick the 2 days a week we're going to do, we're going to announce that. And we've also been using YouTube Shorts, so I'm sure you've probably been seeing them all over your feeds. Let me know. And yeah, we've been demonetized. I didn't even know that until recently. So there's a bunch because basically we weren't using it enough. I didn't realize if you're not active enough, they demonetize you. So we're back on the road to monetization. The only thing we need is people to watch. We have to accumulate watch hours. We're not far away from remonetizing. So yeah, just watch our stuff. Rewatch things if you want to. But yeah, I was gonna mix this up with the last one. Well, some people are asking why are you doing so many shorts on J. Cole? Are you obsessed with J. Cole? No, it's not that. It's because we're breaking up shows into shorts because shorts help the channel. Apparently, it's a good thing to do. You should do shorts. It helps the algorithm and everything. So we took the last episode and we broke it up into a bunch of parts. So that's the episode we chose to break up into parts, and it happens to be about J. Cole. So I apologize if you're tired of the topic. And as we have new episodes that we feed into the machine, we're using this AI clipper. So basically you feed an episode into this thing and it spits out a bunch of clips ready made for social media. So yeah, it's another thing. We're using our social media. So there's a Twitter account, but it's automatically fed by the AI machine. So please don't go there trying to talk to us and argue with us because I'm still disillusioned and not fucking with Twitter, but I just use it to spam the shorts and to try to book guests. So it's at Champagne Sharks. I think on every single platform, Instagram, TikTok, everything is at Champagne Sharks. So just look at Champagne Sharks and you'll see it there. But yeah. So the thing I want to talk about today was investing and reacting to an investing video. And I know it's different than what we normally talk about, but I think it's important because I want to talk about the market. There's been a horrible week in the market. For people who don't know, I like to invest. It's something I'm into. I think everybody should try to learn about money because I think there's a big problem out there in that there's no systems helping people right now. And you've got to fight and get systems changed and get them on your side and get them reflecting your needs and your wants and your voice. But in the meantime, you've got to find a way to navigate the system you're currently in, sadly. And I think a lot of people, because they're anti-capitalist, don't take the time to learn how capitalism works, almost like on principle. And I think you have to, even if you just want to be defensive against the ravages of capitalism. Like it's almost like a flex to be kind of financially illiterate, like as a way to reject such a predatory system. But a lot of times, if you don't understand the predator, you end up being eaten. So anyway, I think this would be a good one. It'll be different than what we normally do, but I think people will like it. Yeah, so you see the stuff in the bottom, hit the super chat if you're enjoying the stream and all that. That's kind of outdated since we're we're demonetized right now. It took me a while to realize that. I might as well take that off. But become a member at patreon.com/champagne sharks. This is more reaction channel, but if you want like actual podcasting and long form analysis and stuff like that, become a member of our podcast. Like $5 a month, you get a bunch of members only episodes and perks and a lot of stuff. We're gonna be adding more perks on it too. So you'll see. But yeah, definitely pause this if you're watching this on rewatch and run over there and do it right now. You'll automatically unlock like hundreds of hours instantly to listen to, and a lot of gems. Like our stuff, the good thing about our stuff is that it's not super topical. Our YouTube stuff is more topical. The podcast stuff is not. It's pretty evergreen. So I think you'll enjoy it. But yeah, there was a video I was watching, and it was an investing video, and it happened, for people who don't know, last week was a terrible week. Like, it was one of the worst weeks in the market in a while. And it's one of those ones where it's hard to say if it's even over yet, because it might not be. It honestly might not be. We might just be having a little bit of a break, before it all just starts over again. That's a very, very possible thing. So this might be dated like instantly from the minute I make it. Like tomorrow I might resume again and whatever. But at the time, everybody was talking about it like, yo, this might be it. This might be a crash. This might be the crash. The AI bubble everyone was talking about, the crash, this might be it. And it was pretty scary. And then I was pretty lucky because I got out of almost all my stocks a couple weeks ago, except for one that was underwater that I thought might turn around. So I just held on to like one or two stocks in the red that I still believed in. But everything else I got rid of. And worked out pretty well, but I didn't feel quite comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable jumping back in either. Like normally when there's a week last week, the thing to do, everyone is like, oh man, it's time, to buy cheap. It's like a bargain sale. But like I'm not really sure we're done yet, and I'm going to give you what I think is pretty good advice as far as that goes. Everybody says buy low, sell high. But that goes wrong a lot, because a lot of times you buy low and it gets lower. And now you're in the red. So then you buy low again and it gets lower again. And now you're even more in the red. And then you buy low again. And then it goes even lower, and it's like people tell you just buy the dip, and then after a while you run out of money, and then God forbid you're on margin. Now you're sweating, your nervous system's all screwed up, and then the same thing happens in reverse. People sell high, and then it keeps going up, and now you're mad that you sold high, like you lost out on a bunch of money, and what I tell people is slightly different. It's not just buy low, sell high. What I do when I tell people is buy low but rising, and sell high but falling. And what that means is, and this is the thing I got from another channel. I forget this phrasing, not the philosophy, but the phrasing. But I forget the name of the channel. But I don't really know about the Boglehead philosophy. I have the book, but I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. It's something I keep meaning to read. But from what I know about it, it's a very conservative, safe philosophy. So I don't see anything wrong with it. Like, I think it's a very sound philosophy. But buy low but rise means, right. So this channel, which unfortunately I can't remember the name of, said, I don't buy when it's falling because I don't know how low it's going to go. I buy when it's rising because I don't know how high it's going to go. And I'll repeat that. I don't buy when it's falling because I don't know how low it's going to go. I don't buy when it's rising because I don't know how high it's going to go. Oh yeah, people do this stuff all the time. Yeah, and it's sweating bullets, right? So like basically, like what I do is if the idea of trying to catch the bottom, which they call trying to catch a falling knife, I used to get burned like that all the time. And then selling because it's like rising, you get burned. So what you do is you make peace with the idea from the beginning. The chances of me catching the bottom or catching the top are remarkably small. It's not going to happen. Make peace with it. Don't even look after you finish selling the stock or whatever. So like what you do is you watch it, you let it fall, and then when as soon as there's a meaningful turnaround, one of those stocks that's been really beaten down, jumps up like 3%, 4%, whatever, and it looks like it has legs, you jump in and buy it. And yeah, you didn't get to catch the perfect bottom. Maybe you missed 3, 4, 5% or more of gain, but at least you're not sitting in the red with something and just watching it sit in the red or go deeper in the red, just driving you crazy, And same thing when it's going up, don't get greedy. Like what you can do is on the way up, you can sell a little bit just to lock in some profits. But don't sell it all. Just sell a little bit, just to lock in profits. So you can say you got something, and then catch it on the way down. You can even set like a limit buy, like something that when it crosses back down below a certain point, your account will automatically buy it. And the same thing with buying low. Like you don't necessarily have to wait for the perfect turnaround to buy anything. You might buy just a little bit that you can spare on the way down, but the bulk of your buy should be on the way back up. So yeah, buy low but rising, sell high but falling. I find that way better. I make peace with not catching the bottom or the top. Experts can't do it. People have been doing it their whole lives, can't do it. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to do it. You're going to fuck yourself up more often than not. There's like a lot of mistakes you can do. I'm not going to go into all of them now, but position sizing is the other thing. Don't get position sizing that's too big for your britches, and then you're forced to trade emotionally. There's a bunch of them, but I'm not going to go into that now. I wanted to cover this one particular thing I was watching, right? So here's what happened last week. And I thought it was a very good teachable kind of moment because the guys I'm going to show are all way more knowledgeable investors than I am. I think almost all of them, I don't know if they have day jobs or whatever, I think almost all of them trade for a living and they get this stuff on a deeper level than I do, but I think they buy into but an outdated framework that I think a lot of people do. And my philosophy is going to sound very weird. And I'm kind of curious if I put this out there, how it's going to be received. If people will agree with it, if they'll like it, if they'll be like, this guy is crazy, he's spreading misinformation. But I'm going to put it out here. Yeah, but people don't call everything. But at the end of the day, nobody really knows. Everything is kind of plausible. But one of the problems is there's way too many things that can happen. There's way too many moving parts, and we have a batshit insane president. I don't know what his plan is. I don't know what he's trying to do. He does a lot of weird things. I don't know if he's some kind of weird savant or if he just has dementia or whatever. I've been trying to figure him out for a while. I just don't know. So, Yeah, I mean, it could be a bear trap. It could not be a bear trap. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, everything is plausible right now, you know. But yeah, it could totally be a bear trap. Like you have to treat everything like a possibility. You should never be 100% sure of anything. You should treat everything like some black swan crazy event could happen that's gonna prove you wrong. Uh, so I take every theory seriously, even if I take some more seriously than others. But um, here's a little bit of background so that people understand, right? So there was this craziness happening with the market and Amazon and all the tech stocks for the past couple of years. And it's the AI bubble. Basically, five stocks. I don't have the perfect stats in front of me, but basically like 7 stocks or 8 stocks were basically carrying the whole S&P 500. Were carrying everything. Like everything was basically in the red except for these 5 stocks. And we were hitting record highs more and more and more. And then these stocks were becoming a bigger and bigger part of the S&P 500, or a bigger part of the stock market. The market capitalization was growing more and more. And what was happening is when these stocks were doing well, any one or two of them having a great day can lift the whole stock market. And any of them doing bad can tank it. And there's something called the passive investing bubble. It's too long to get into now, but basically, because all the ETFs, what people don't realize is when you have a bunch of funds in an ETF, when we have a bunch of stocks in an ETF, a bunch of things in an ETF, they have to buy the underlying stock. So if I have like a 30 stock ETF, the ETF has to actually buy the stocks in it. It helps them, hedge their risk and everything. So that's how it ends up mirroring the market. So basically, every single big ETF goes for the same stocks. And then all these ETFs are in everybody's 401ks and retirement plans. So basically, you may not be personally investing not knowingly in like Tesla or Amazon or the big seven, but Nvidia, Amazon, Apple, all these things are all in everybody's 401ks and everybody's Roth IRAs and, you know, their index funds and everything. So every week, every 2 weeks, people are getting paid. And as they're getting paid, and a chunk of that money is going into um, their 401ks and all that stuff. That 401k money, a share of it goes to all the same companies. So then these companies grow just off of doing nothing. It has nothing to do with fundamentals or anything. They just grow because everybody's getting them, which then in turn increases their outsized presence in the market. So let me find an example. But there's things that really kind of show how ridiculous it is. So it's like a feedback loop because they're the biggest companies. They get the biggest share of the investments in the ETF, which in turn increases the disproportionate size to the rest of it. So yeah, it says here the Magnificent Seven stocks: Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Nvidia, Meta, and Tesla wield a disproportionate influence on U.S. equity markets, collectively representing 25 to 30% of the S&P 500's total market capitalization. And they call this like a tail effect, like the tail wags the dog. Like those 7 stocks move the whole market. And since they've been doing great because this AI bubble, it hasn't been bothering anybody. But last week, almost all of them were having earnings, and the sentiment was turning against them. And because it was turning against them, they were doing badly, and it was just crashing everything. every single day, one or more of them would announce earnings. The earnings would tank, and then that would take the market down hugely the next day. And the bleeding didn't stop until the last of them did earnings. The last of them did earnings on Thursday. I believe that was Amazon. I think it was Amazon. Uh, I forgot who the last one was, but yeah, the last one did earnings. As soon as the last one did earnings, um, things calmed down. But yeah, it happened with Google as well. Like Google had a great earnings, and then it didn't matter. They just went. They just went down. Yeah. So soon as it stopped, as soon as all that stopped, the market calmed down. But yeah, it's a pretty precarious position. So it's kind of like nothing has nothing has worked. Um, let me rephrase that. There's nothing that has been put in the tank for what's coming next. What the market has been doing has been basically things are going pretty badly for everybody right now in terms of the economy and whatever, but they can keep the market pumped with insanely high valuations just based on trend chasing. And AI, they're kind of stuck at. They don't have anything for when the spell of AI wears off. And I think that's kind of what's scary because they went from data to big data to AI, and then they tried to then launch into quantum computing. That was going to be the next thing to keep the bubbleness going. And quantum computing just did not take off. Nothing that they've tried after that has taken off, and that's kind of caused a problem for them. I think they don't know what to do to fix that. They just don't know what they can possibly do to fix it. That's the problem. That's the problem that they're having. And anyway, I'm going to show you right now what I'm talking about. So here we go. You're going to see these guys, they're talking about the stocks, and they're having trouble figuring out why the earnings are going bad. And there's a link in the description if you want to watch this whole thing yourself. But the whole thing was at 2 hours and 39 minutes, and they're following the earnings call. I think it's pretty interesting because what happened each time, right? Basically, the sentiment has happened the whole season, like this whole past couple of months. The whole sentiment has been AI is a bubble, circular accounting. All these messed up narratives have come that have made people doubt that the potential in the future of AI. And now, because people are doubting the potential of AI, the future of AI, and particularly one thing that's been getting harped on the news a lot and in YouTube video essays and in the financial press is kind of turned on AI. They mentioned circular accounting and CapEx. So basically, all these companies had amazing earnings. These are the kind of earnings that just a year or two ago, each of these stocks would have shot through the roof. But now the earnings are actually better than a lot of the earnings that were rewarded in the past like 3 or 4 years. And all the stocks tanked anyway, just based on the term capital expenditures. That's basically how much are you spending on, your technology investments? Because that's what the narrative is now. That's what the news is saying. That's what the buzz is saying. It's all about these companies are spending too much money. So they were mentioning revenue. They were mentioning all these amazing metrics. There's these ad revenues, profit sales, and like I was listening to their earnings calls and watching the stock price in real life, in real time, and you could see as they were talking in the earnings call, the stock would start going up after hours, and as soon as they mentioned capital expenditures, you would see it start to drop in real time. It was crazy. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, it was like, as soon as he mentioned any of this in real time, it just automatically just started dying on the vine right there. It was really, really, really nuts. And so this happened every single time, and every single day, like, investors were like dying because there was like 7 of these earnings to be announced. And each time you have to be like, oh my God, please, this time we not have a huge, huge crash? And it would happen each time. And the earnings were so good, and people couldn't understand, why can't people get past this thing about the capital expenditure, which is going to lead to the big premise that I have today, as far as what I think causes all these problems. And that is, fundamentals really don't matter until they matter. Most of the time, fundamentals do not matter. And that is something that you're not supposed to say, you're not supposed to believe. I think a lot of people, especially, they don't want to believe that they're part of something, especially if you do this for a living, but this is your job. You don't want to believe this thing I'm doing is pretty much emotionally based. Like, you want to believe what you're doing is like a science, or is like something very technical, whatever. But I firmly believe now more than ever, fundamentals don't really matter. And I'm going to explain to you what I think does matter. Yeah, and I think it's not really supposed to say. There's a popular saying: the market in the short term is a voting machine, but in the long term, it's a weighing machine. I think that's outdated. And what I believe in now is what I call tard maxing, or retard maxing. I know it's not politically correct, but I feel like we've hit the point where the word retarded has so long not been used to refer to people with Down syndrome anymore. It's become its own thing. So, no disrespect to people with, Down syndrome or anything like that. I know it's a politically incorrect term, but I just think it's the best term to use. Tard maxing. You have to think like a ridiculous person. What I call a bull tard, or what other people call a permeable. That's pretty much how you have to think. And it's people are pretty irrational, who are investing in things they don't understand. They're looking at trade magazines and financial reporters who also don't understand what they're writing about, and just looking at everyone else to see what everyone else is saying. So these are the same people who last year were saying, arguing with anybody who had anything good to say, anything bad to say about AI, and calling them crackpots or whatever, when they were like YouTube conspiracy theorists. And then once like the mainstream, caught on to these narratives, not these same people arguing in the other extreme, and are just a bunch of chicken littles. And this is a problem with investing in general, is that by nature, most investors are kind of generalists. Like, you're investing in a bunch of stuff. You're not really, there's some people who are real experts in fields and they invest in those fields. But for the most part, most people are just taking crash courses and reading other people's breakdowns about things they're not qualified to even tell if it's a good breakdown. And you're just investing on stuff. You're buying into a biotech company. You're buying into a pharmaceutical company. You're buying into a computer company. And you're kind of at the mercy of what other people are telling you is smart or dumb. And there's a lot of dumb people out there. I'm saying it to be mean, but they are. And you're at the mercy of these people. But what happens, a lot of people, when the dummies are voting in your direction, you pretty much discount the fact that they're dummies. You're just happy they're voting your direction. And you tell yourself, yeah, because everyone sees what I see, all these fundamentals or whatever. No, you might be in this for a bunch of fundamentals that you convince yourself are true. But these people are just in it because the number go up, and they just in it. So that same stupidity that's being weaponized on your behalf, at some point, these people are like people who, like, the last plausible looking person who gets in their ear and plants a seed in there is going to own their brain. Like, those people can be weaponized against you in an instant, And that's the problem I think a lot of people have. So these people right now, I'm going to show you them reacting to the Amazon earnings and them reacting to the Google earnings. But you can see that the frustration because, they're listening to the earnings and they're watching them tank in real time. And they're just trying to make sense out of it.
Nebius is down almost 10% after hours, which means that its market cap is probably around $15-16 billion. ClickHouse alone is what?
Can you hear it? Let me know you can hear it.
28
How
billion.
much? So then, but they own 28% of it.
Oh, sorry, it's a 15 billion, but they own 28% of the yeah. So it's like half their stake in ClickHouse.
Yeah, like that's absurd. That's absurd. And Toloka and Avrite and all these other businesses are obviously worth a lot of money.
Hold on, is Meta dumping after hours? Oh boy, down 2% here on.
Yeah, so let's confuse. Like, why is all this stuff dumping? Like, it makes no sense. This was just a great earnings, and it was. These are all great earnings on paper. Like, these companies were rewarded heavily for way worse earnings than this.
Meta, dude, Meta's earnings completely thrown out.
Swiped out
the wall.
You can feel
it
the
makes sense to sell this name off, right? Meta.
Are we below 70 on Hood? No, we didn't touch below 70 yet, but it's pretty close.
Yeah. Neil, you own Rubrik? Yeah.
So this watching
earnings,
everything
right?
just tanked.
Doesn't matter.
So he says good earnings, right? It doesn't matter. Like they just don't understand this.
Doesn't matter.
The number, we don't know the numbers, but we know that they exceeded guidance. But yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter when software's selling off. Like there's just I think this is a great time because this is when the baby gets thrown out of the bathwater. They're just indiscriminately selling everything. Like everything. And it's great because now you can go shopping if you want to.
See, it's funny. He's saying it's great, but you can tell like it's bothering him. But he's not wrong. It is great, but you see the frustration. This is the frustration that people get when they want to believe that fundamentals matter or that this is based on anything logical. And it's like I don't really have these feelings. Like I don't really think this way. And I get arguments with my investing friends all the time. They're always like, they insist to me that things matter, but the examples they give for why things matter is always backwards rationalization. Like things happen and then people backwards rationalize. Like, what people will do is like the stock went down and then people will, because they want to believe it matters, they'll look for the most logical reason. It didn't say it happened. And then I'll be like, I just think it went down because people are scared. People just don't have money to risk. They're just, they saw a news article that like they saw it was going down and they said I'm gonna sell too. Like I really don't believe most people are motivated by logic.
Time to buy depression stocks? Are we getting a bunch of like tobacco and alcohol companies, or what are we doing?
Oh, you know what? How much is
okay, this is a great question, right? One of the big things that people always say, and it's something I have in my notes to talk about later today. They always say it's the algorithms, it's the high frequency trading. That I think personally is very much a thought terminating cliche. A thought terminating cliche is something that people say to resolve cognitive dissonance that they don't really want to think through. It's very popular in cults. It's like a thought terminating cliche is it is what it is, or what are you gonna do? Or that's just an opinion, when someone says something, and you say that so you don't have to actually argue against the opinion and prove them wrong, or you don't want to actually think through the thing. It's just a way to kind of relieve comfort. So I think a lot of times when things don't make sense, just everything is algos. But retail investing is a bigger part of the market than ever before. There's different competing stats, but there's more casuals involved in the stock market. Like stock market participation used to be very, very, very low. It used to be mostly institutions. With the rise of retirement accounts, with the rise of Robinhood and all the trading apps and all that stuff, and everyone trading on the phones, and the collapse of pensions and social safety nets, and everyone's kind of banking on this lottery ticket in their pocket to fund their retirements or whatever. Like regular investors matter more than ever. And this is the problem with the whole, like I think what people do to just not want to face that the stock market's not logical. They just say, when you point out anything convenient, just say, algorithms. And then people who trust these people, they think, oh, they must know what they're talking about. Now, here's the problem with algorithms. You can't prove how much of the stuff is algorithms, but let's say it is algorithms, right? Algorithms get triggered by things. So algorithms either get triggered by, like, say, things that get said in the earnings or whatever, or they get triggered by price movements. But at the end of the day, if the algorithm causes something to happen and it starts moving down, if the sentiment is like risk off and people are, have a bunch of money in their pocket and they're going crazy for stocks, if that algorithm tips the thing down, the regular people are all going to jump in because they're going to be like, oh, it's a deal, let me buy the dip. If people are risk off and they're scared, the algorithm is going to spook them. It's like yelling fire in a crowded theater. Everyone's going to run for the doors and panic. Like, at the end of the day, people move the market, even if the algorithm starts it off. And also, a lot of times people are the ones who spark the algorithm. Like, I think thinking too much about the algorithm is a waste of time. Like, I don't get the point of why people keep bringing it up. Like, most of the time, when I see people bring up, oh, it's the algorithms, it's just almost 99% of the time is never to productively come up with anything actionable. It's usually like, I don't really want to think about what you're talking about, so I'm just going to say this so that I don't have to think about it. That's my experience. See, this is a common story, but this is a problem. Everyone's a shoe shine guy. The problem isn't the shoe shine guy is giving tips. Nowadays, the problem is an expert is a shoe shine guy. Like, I would actually trust a real shoe shine guy probably more than an actual expert now. Like, you have actual trained, highly trained, reputable, institutional people actually talking about Tesla like it's a real profitable, sensible company, and that Elon Musk is a serious person, and seriously debating humanoid robots. This guy's been breaking every single promise and making up insane. This guy, Elon Musk, promised telepathy at one point with Neuralink. He promises stuff all the time, doesn't deliver. Like, I don't like the shoe shine story because it still implies that the normal market makes sense. And what I'm trying to tell you is they're all shoe shine guys. They're all shoe shine guys. Like, these are ridiculous people. They don't understand. These people don't know what an electric car is or what it means, but they can't admit they don't know. So they got to pretend that they know what they're talking about. Like, anybody who, I think Elon's big mistake is he started talking about a lot of stuff outside of his expertise. Well, his fake expertise. No, I didn't say outside of his expertise because everything's outside his expertise. His only expertise is scamming. He started talking about stuff inside other people's expertise, and the people start saying, wait a minute, this guy's dumb as shit. But because most people don't understand electric cars or what's behind it or whatever, when he's talking his nonsense with that, they think, oh, he must know what he's talking about. So for example, Microsoft had a great earnings. Tesla had a terrible earnings. Microsoft went down, Tesla went up because there's more tards who like Tesla. Like, it's all sentiment. And then people will just backwards rationalize it after. They'll say, well, Microsoft went down because, the market didn't like this and that. And Tesla went up because the market decided to wait. Like, what they'll do is they'll try to find what doesn't make sense. And because it started with the conclusion that the investor is always rational, they try to find the sense in what happened. There must be like, there's something that we didn't see. Let's figure out. At the end of the day, the narrative has to be preserved that the market makes sense. That's run by experts. And they can't just say people are getting really stupid, which I think, can explain like most of it. And I guess we'll get kind of bored if every time like there's something major happen, like 80% of the time, it's like, well, you know, people are dumb. What are you gonna do? You wouldn't really need to hire that many people, you know. And then a lot of times, right, being smart, being right too early in the stock market is indistinguishable from being wrong, especially if you make money, right? It's like, say you're right about all the flaws in AI and why it economically can't work. That the return on investment is impossible. The energy needs are ridiculous. Like all the stuff that's scaring people now. Like how are you going to afford the energy needs of these things? How are these data centers going to possibly be profitable? How are we going to keep them online? How can we make enough money to justify paying for all this compute? And there's not enough energy in the world to fund what we need to make AI as ubiquitous as you want it. Like say all this stuff, and all that stuff eventually trickles into the general consciousness enough to finally tank the stock. If you were the guy for 5 years at Merrill Lynch or whatever bank you are, telling people, "Hey guys, this makes no sense," and these people have to sit there and watch the market double, triple, quadruple, quintuple before it falls, before your thesis is proven true. Even if you eventually get vindicated, you're gonna have been fired like 4 years ago by the time it comes true. So you've got to be as dumb as everyone else to keep your job, and you got to make it sound as smart as possible. So you got to become a shoeshine guy. The shoeshine guys are running the market, and you've got to like you might not even believe your shoeshine guy logic, but you believe everyone else believes that everyone else believes the shoeshine guy logic, and you want to be going with the flow. And at the very least, if you're wrong, you'll be wrong with everyone else. So yeah, like don't buy into that stuff. Like, you know, stories like when he saw the shoeshine guy giving tips, because that was back when things made sense. We're living in clown world now. That doesn't matter anymore. Now 90% of people are shoeshine guys, including like today Andrew Carnegie would have been a shoeshine guy too. So yeah, if you look at these guys, they're having cognitive dissonance and they just don't get it. Yeah, and the person changes. Like you're saying JFK's dad, but I've heard Andrew Carnegie. I've heard different people. Like this story has been attributed to like different people.
I now pay later options. Like I buy stocks now, I might pay them back later. I don't know. Could be a good new business venture.
A firm is down 4%. I forgot they reported.
Yeah, so
I mean, for everyone for asking for year-to-dates in the chat, I think we're all red. I'm definitely negative year-to-date.
I'm not red yet.
I'm red. I am red year-to-date.
Sam, did you say you're not red yet?
Not yet.
What the hell's holding you up?
Yeah, bro.
Like, what could you possibly?
Yeah, basically, they're shocked he's not red. Like, what is even holding you up? That's how bad the market was last week. Just give you an idea how bad it was.
What have that's keeping you green, dude?
I'm still at 3%.
Oh, congrats, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, on semiconductor and Amcor are still doing pretty good year to date. Now it's very heavily positioned in those options.
So basically, he had two very lucky options that are keeping him up. But I'm gonna jump around just to kind of show different levels of cope. I'm not like bashing these guys. I watch all these guys. They're very knowledgeable. They know a lot of stuff, and I find them very valuable. I don't want to make it seem like I'm disparaging them. They know more about the fundamentals of stocks than me, but I think that actually kind of blinds you sometimes when you know too much. You know, like if you know too much and sometimes you're dealing with someone who's not following the rules or doesn't know anything, it actually starts kind of almost hurting you because they're like very unpredictable.
That's also has gotten better. You know, this is not just like Bitcoin is just sentiment, right? Like that.
Okay, see, this is great.
2% isn't bad when you think about it. That's not that bad.
These are one of those days where it feels like the bottom is falling out. And the worst part is we don't really have a reason other than Amazon's CapEx, I guess.
Yeah, but you know, the 2022 vibe thing,
Yeah, so they can't understand why it's going down. The only thing they can think of is Amazon CapEx, but that's what people want to care about, even though it makes no sense to care about it. Like, you have to meet the people where they are.
I mean, at least in 2022, the reason why.
And the other thing is, everybody was selling because of CapEx. They might not actually care about CapEx themselves. They just heard it in the news so much. They might be thinking everyone else is going to care about this. It might be like, oh, God, there goes that word CapEx. I know it's been talked about like crazy. I think everyone else is going to be selling. Let me sell. So you might have a bunch of people, maybe none of them really think the CapEx matters, but they've all been led to believe, because of the media hype talking about it all the time, they've all been led to believe that everyone else thinks CapEx matters, and they're selling because of that.
We see.
So that was the reason why I sold everything. It wasn't because I was some kind of fundamentals genius that was, doing all the math and like, okay, the companies are getting worse now, whatever. I thought the companies were shit all the time. I thought they were bullshit from the beginning, and I just rode them up because I was like, these people are dumb as hell. I was watching people make logical arguments against AI, and I was just seeing person after person just like, you don't understand what AI can do. It can do this and that. I was like, man, I'd go into Twitter threads, I'd go into comment section, and I would just gauge the ridiculous to rational ratio, and I'm like, I'm just staying in this. And then when I start seeing more and more people, I start seeing YouTube essays pop up talking about circular accounting. I'd go on Twitter. I saw this meme popping up. You guys might have seen it. Circular accounting AI meme. It was like everywhere, of a bunch of guys jerking each other off. But I'll show you, like Forbes started doing articles, all these different major magazines started doing. So if you look here, right, this thing was from Bloomberg, and it's a circular accounting chart, and a bunch of people did stories about this chart. There's a bunch of YouTube essays about this chart. Then there was another, everyone was making circular accounting charts. Then memes like this started happening, of something plugged into itself. Story after story, chart after chart, meme after meme. Three Stooges, circular accounting. Let me see if I can find the circle jerk meme. The AI financial circle jerk. The AI circle jerk is complete. This was the really popular meme that was everywhere. It was like, these were all the different companies jerking each other off. Nothing fundamentally changed in the companies, but once that started happening, I was like, okay, people seem to be waking up to this, so I'm out. That was the extent of it. And like everything that they're upset about now, people have been talking about this forever. There's this guy on YouTube called Nobody Special Finance. He's been warning about this stuff for years. Everybody laughed at him. They were calling him an idiot. They were doing whatever. And then once it became true, no one gave him credit. Everyone just started acting like this was new, and then they wouldn't shut up about it. And what happens when these things happen, people will overcare about these things to whatever extent they undercared about it before. So because people spent so many years ignoring this stuff, it's like a whiplash, or it's like a rubber band. When you pull too hard in one direction, when you let go, it's gonna snap back the other way. When people start caring, they always overshoot the mark, and they overcare to whatever extent they were. It's kind of like if you're taking forever to get started on a project and you're procrastinating. To whatever extent you realistically or rationally procrastinated, when you get to crunch time, that's going to be the extent to which you're panicked now. Like, the worst of a hole you put yourself in, or the less you cared about it when you should have cared about it, the more irrationally panicked you're going to be about it when you do care. Yeah, he's been talking about it. But I mean, you have to realize something with him too. He's creating the narrative as well. That's another thing that's tricky about this. And this is what I mean by it's all about sentiment, more than fundamentals. What he's doing, and it doesn't mean he's wrong about the fundamentals, but fundamentals only matter to the point that sentiment is bad. When sentiment is good, because sentiment is the lens through which fundamentals are viewed. So when people are feeling flush with money and they feel like what I call FOMO YOLO, fear of missing out, you only live once, they will read an earnings with like 300 warning signs, and they will dig through it and find the one long shot good thing, and it'll go up, and the financial markets will just focus on that. They will rationalize themselves to everything. When they're feeling scared and money's tight, the labor market's bad. If I lose my job, I don't know if I'm gonna get another one easily because I heard how bad it is. Like right now, like when the market was going up during the COVID time and all that stuff, you gotta remember what the climate was. Like we had TikTok trends like quit talks and quiet quitting and all this stuff. People were so confident that people were like filming themselves quit jobs. That's how confident it went. Now people hang on to jobs for dear life. Everyone's saying if you got a job, hold on to it. Do whatever. So it's like before people are flush with stimulus money, people feel so confident in the economy and cheap money that they're just, quitting jobs that they don't like and just confident in getting a new one, doing quit talks. Now you got people posting about, I've gone 2 years without a job. I've gone 3 years without a job. You got people hanging on jobs for dear life. In a climate like that, people are more too scared to FOMO YOLO and all that stuff. Now, a person who like in 2022 or something would have been looking for any reason to just I got a bunch of money that I got to throw at shit. What should I throw it at? This AI thing sounds good. Let me throw it at this tech stock. Now this person went from looking for any excuse to buy in to looking for any excuse to cash out. Like, it's like, please just give me any excuse to just cash out of this. Like, I can't risk a downturn. Like, it was getting so bad before that nobody was selling, no matter how bad news got. Like you kept waiting for a crash. People just wouldn't sell. People would just keep buying dips and just dollar cost averaging down and just writing everything out. And now people aren't confident enough to do that anymore. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. And I think that matters more than anything. And these guys are just trying to, they keep talking about everything that's right about Amazon, but it doesn't matter because these people aren't calm enough to be rational. Like, they're just scared. Like they're not, because the mistake you're making is thinking that the stock went up because they were rational. Like, these stocks didn't go up because of any rational logic being done. So they're not going to go down for any. They went up because of emotion. So they're going to go down because of emotion. You were looking for the rational stuff on the way. This is the only thing that, for me, fundamentals really matter for. Is the stock at risk of going bankrupt? Is the company at risk of going bankrupt? Like, if your company, like Tesla, is a piece of crap company, but I consider people would invest in it because the sentiment will keep it going. But sometimes sentiment backfires on you and you get burned by fundamentals if the company is just so bad that it's a zombie company and they literally can't keep it going. But Tesla's always going to find somebody to bail it out. They're always going to find some kind of trickery, some scam, some investor, some government grant, some kind of circular thing to keep it around. So as long as they can physically keep the company around, they're gonna glaze everybody and bullshit everybody and find a bunch of bulltards and Elon fanboys to invest in it and get institutional people to inexplicably support this thing, even though it's a total turkey, But with the smaller companies, there's a lot of small companies that, the stock is like a runaway hit and whatever, and then it goes bankrupt because it didn't have the fundamentals. Like, that's the only extent to which I think, the fundamentals matter. Is this thing at risk of going bankrupt? Like, I got burned like that once. I knew a company was bad, but I knew that it was going to keep going up, and I knowingly bought into a bad company. But it was so bad that I should have known that bankruptcy was a chance. And then it went bankrupt, and I just lost all that stock. It was like the biggest disaster I ever had. So there are limits to the sentiment thing. Anyway. See, like, these about forward earnings. These people don't care about forward earnings. These people didn't know what forward earnings mean. They don't know. They just know, hey, AI, Terminator 2, future. Wait, now AI bad, circular spending, CapEx. So they're not thinking like this. They don't. They just get scared and worked up at will based on whatever's happening. Their money's tight, and there's a lot of bad news in the news everywhere. And plus, things you wouldn't even think would matter. Like, all day long, you got to hear about tariffs. You got to hear about ICE. You got to hear about people getting shot. You got to hear about culture war stuff. And before, like, the worst thing you had to hear about was someone knowing woke, anti-woke, or transgenders reading to the kids in school. Like it was like, there was like culture war stuff. But this shit now feels like cataclysmic, like Nazi Germany stuff. Like, people don't know what's happening. Like, stock market's going crazy, and Trump's just still doing crazy stuff. He's nominating a guy for the Fed that, they don't know what he even believes. That scared a lot of people, like, because everyone's addicted to interest rate hikes. And then Trump's just like the Joker in The Dark Knight. He just seems to want chaos, and that doesn't help either. Like, the Epstein stuff, like things that has nothing to do with stocks, I think, are even fucking with people's heads. Like, where nothing feels secure. Like, I just want to store some cash and get a bunker and just be ready to run away with my family. I think people are in that kind of mindset right now. Yeah, see, he's still using logic. That's the problem. See, what he doesn't realize is that he is stumbling on the answer, but he thinks it's a question. He's like, everything was actually worse before for these companies, but they were going up at 2022. So why are they going up now? And it's like, that's not a question. That's the answer. People just felt good in 2022. They had a bunch of stimulus money. They were sitting home, saving their money. This felt like there was a lot of jobs. There was stories about people with like 2 or 3 stay-at-home jobs, just racking up money. People were quitting jobs and getting new jobs like nothing. Like, people were confident. People felt good. Yeah, a lot of people kept the jobs through the COVID and got the stimulus thing, and we're doing okay. And the unemployment wasn't so bad. There was a lot of manipulating of the job market data, so people thought the economy was doing good. You remember all the vibe session talk under Biden? No one's saying vibe session anymore. You say vibe session right now, people probably lynch you. People don't want to hear that. Like a jig is up. People know that was bullshit. And now, because Trump is in office, the media really doesn't have any motivation to pretend the economy is good. So yeah, he has the answer. He's not seeing it. He's thinking of it as the question. And the problem was that he was thinking people were being logical before, and they weren't. Yeah, so Coca-Cola's at all-time highs. What does that mean? It means that people are just looking for something to jump into, right? They need a story. So before it was AI, now people run out of tech stories because AI is starting to fall apart. What happens is all these new tech waves, every time they're about to fall apart, a new scam pops up and that reinflates it. So first, it was about data. The big thing was data. Then when data started like falling through, then they moved on to well, you know what? The next big wave is big data. Like data is not enough. We need big data, huge amounts of data. And then tech ran up again. And then people start realizing the limitations of big data. It's like, okay, so you said big data is going to solve everything, but how do we process all this big data? Like humans can't read it all. It's so then the same way, like, you know, this whole circular accounting, CapEx, data center waste, compute power, like each time some new talking points that everybody was ignoring in the bull euphoria start coming about, then a new answer is given. So like first with data, it's like, okay, some talking points started popping up against data. And then it came up, oh, the new thing is big data. Big data is going to answer. So put it all to rest. And people felt free to get euphoric and crazy again. Then with big data, they hit that version of CapEx and circular accounting. Like they hit the new talking points for that, for why that's not going to work. And then that's when AI started popping off. They started saying, oh, well, this AI thing is going to be the thing that's going to process all the big data. You know, these huge amounts of data that we've been compiling, that we're saying is the leverage, is the power that's going to make all these amazing things happen. The AI is going to be able to process all this big data, and then we were off to the races. And what they needed to do was set up something in place so that when these inevitable sensible questions started happening, because they always end up starting to happen. Sooner or later, people always start saying, wait, all this stuff that we've been ignoring, we're suddenly not ignoring it anymore. We're suddenly going to start paying attention to it, right? They always know this is going to happen. So you got to have something else set up. So the idea, if you remember, if you've been following this stuff, that's why I think they were trying to make quantum computing happen, because they were going to try to push something called quantum AI. So when people started hitting these issues with compute power or environmental drain or the data center thing, they were going to try to say, well, it's going to be okay because this new quantum chip technology is going to happen that's going to do 1,000,000 times the amount of computing power in a couple of minutes. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but that was just a bridge too far. For some reason, people were just not willing to be stupid enough to believe that one. Even I was surprised. Oh, you couldn't hear the video. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. So you know what? Sorry, I didn't realize you guys couldn't see the video. Yeah, but people realized, like, okay, for whatever reason, they're not buying the quantum computing thing. And then Jensen Huang even said something negative about quantum computing, and it tanked. And that was a mistake, because he really should have talked up quantum computing at all costs, because he needs a general environment of delusion to keep AI alive. So people believing in quantum computing helps people keep believing in AI, right? So basically what happened is they reached a point where they needed people to believe in this next big thing before the floor fell out from underneath AI, and there is no new thing. So basically, this is what I think people want right now. People just need to throw their money in something. And it's either going to be crypto, it's going to be AI stocks, it's going to be Kalshi and Poly Market, it's going to be sports book, it's going to be something. But people are desperate. Retirement's not going to take care of them. They don't have a pension, doing too much gig work. Life is too expensive. You can't save like you used to. You can't keep up with inflation. So people are chasing stuff, and they're running out of stuff to chase that they can believe in. For example, I think the next thing that's going to happen is metals, gold and silver. Like, people don't trust any more stocks anymore. Like, 493 of the S&P 500 had been doing kind of terribly, and everyone was betting on these AI stocks and a bunch of small stocks. And now that they can't buy into this, and there's nothing new set up for them, I think they're going to start going back into old stocks. So things like Coca-Cola, that's why Coca-Cola went up, because people were like, okay, well, this at least is not going to go anywhere. This is a solid company, you know. But people are going to start going into things that they never normally went into before. So I think stuff like oil, gold and silver, like they're gonna start trading like meme stocks all of a sudden. I think a lot of people are going to straight up take their money out of the stock market and just start doing poly market. Like, poly market's talking about offering margin and all that stuff. So that's going to happen soon. Anyway, I'm going to replay this video. You said the audio was off. Tell me if you can hear it now.
Tweet, right? Or just the truth. So if he doesn't, then that reverses all the thought that we are going to get quantitative tightening or stop quantitative easing, and the market will probably bottom that day. But if that becomes 100% where he does officially,
are you guys able to hear that? Tell me if you can hear it.
Nominate him, then guess what? Now there's massive uncertainty as to what he's going to do. And if quantitative easing getting cut off is on the table, the market will not like that. And ultimately, we've seen massive drawdown since last Thursday. It's Thursday, right? Yeah. It's when this
Guys,
accelerated.
After hours is a bloodbath. Zeta's down 6. I don't know why.
Yeah.
SoFi's down 3 after hours. I don't know why. Where's Hoodie? Hood is...
You see, I think the problem is when things go up, because these people believe in these companies and they believe in, and they have well thought out reasons based on the fundamentals why they believe these companies. When these companies go up, they downplay or ignore how irrational the going up is. They think, oh, this is going up because our research is paying off, because we're so smart. Like we, you know, it'll be like if you research something really hard and you built up a really good expertise on something, and then you tell your boss, like, you know, hey, let's go with this because I think it's gonna be popular. And then you see it working. There's a party that wants to believe it's working because of the substance, because of why you said it's going up. Like, you don't want to believe it's going up just because there's a new Pizzagate conspiracy, and you know, people just went with your choice because it looked the least like pizza or something like that. You know, like you don't want to believe that you're right for something as capricious and stupid as that. And I think that's kind of what happened to these people. They get caught off guard by this type of ridiculousness, because as ridiculous as I think the pro AI bubble has been, I also think this overreaction is ridiculous. This is Google. It's a huge company. They're not like some fly-by-night company that only does AI. Like, they have a lot of money. They have a lot of levers to pull. They have a lot of products. Amazon is a huge company with a huge cloud computing system. Like, it's with all the stuff that Amazon, all the levers Amazon has to push, it's crazy that these people are banking everything on CapEx, you know?
Down 2 after. I mean, after hours, it's just Nebius down 4, Broadcom down 1, AMD down 2, Palantir down another 2, S&P's down another 0.5% after hours.
People are calling Nebius has at least a reason to be down. You know, there might be one of their peers that's down a ton. Like I get that. Why is SoFi down?
Yeah, why SoFi down?
Yeah, like why would SoFi be down because Amazon's down? Because these people don't think. They just like everything's going up. Everything's going up because everything's going up, and everything goes down because everything's going down. Because they don't know how to evaluate anything. They just but stuff. The problem is this happens all the time, but people just don't care when it's going their way. So like, you know, Intel will have a good quarter, and then AMD will go up. But no one asks questions then because everyone's just happy because they're making money. But that makes as little sense. Like all the nonsensical correlations that they're talking about now exist in a bull market too, but people just feel like their research is being rewarded and being agreed with, and they're making money. So people just don't question it; just go with the flow.
You worried about the personal loans that SoFi gave to Amazon? What are you worried about?
Because they sold SoFi to buy Roblox.
Yeah.
Oklow's down 3. It's Bitcoin. Well, SoFi's not related to Bitcoin. Not really. Bitcoin.
No.
Yeah, so they're like struggling to find the correlations and the causes, and I think that's like a trap that you get stuck in. I'm gonna give you another example with the same guys. And again, this is not me like, you know, trying to shit on them. I think they're all very good traders, and they're very knowledgeable. They're very knowledgeable. But I think that sadly, this is the world that we're in. It's really that silly. And the reason why I'm more scared about this than I was about the April drop, right? So like the April drop happened with Trump and the tariffs and Liberation Day and all that stuff, and that went really bad. But with that one, I just bought the dip with no problem. I bought the dip with no hesitation because to me the market was going down, but not like for the right reasons. It wasn't going down because the AI narrative is ridiculous and nonsensical and whatever, and people are waking up to that. It went down because of Trump and the tariffs, which is not an inconsequential thing, but it wasn't. To me, it wasn't like that big a deal because it could always be turned around. One day Trump could just be like, you know what, we're not doing the tariffs, and you know, like, and he did do that a lot. He did, you know, that what they call the taco. He kept, you know, changing his mind or whatever. But I was like, as long as people are still full retard on AI and they still believe in this stuff, they're gonna jump back into the trade. Now I'm more scared because I'm like, people, they have a narrative problem. They cannot get that euphoric AI narrative back. One problem too, I think, is that too many people have used AI either in their jobs or in their personal life, and they're seeing like, oh damn, this thing is not really as good as everyone said it was going to be. You know, it makes a lot of mistakes. In the beginning, it seems like it's helping me a lot, but then I spend so much time trying to fix the mistakes that I end up spending more time. Like people are starting to realize, like, okay, this is not some Terminator 2000 C3PO type of stuff. So yeah, I think people are just losing their faith in this stuff, and yeah, people are going to be as irrational on the way down as they were on the way up. And and here's the thing: I can't see any narrative that they can introduce to get people getting stupid again, right? Like, people were able to talk themselves into buying stocks because they kept lying to themselves or making up stuff about rumors about the Fed cutting rates. So people were just, no matter what the Fed was doing, they kept saying, oh, they're going to cut rates any day now. Cut rates. He's going to cut rates. Going to cut rates. Now we have somebody nominated who's a super hawk, who's known for being hostile to cutting rates. So now, and we're not going to know what he's going to do until like April or May. So we have to wait like months before we even know if he's really going to live up to his hawk reputation or if he's now a dove. So there's no reprieve coming from there. There's no new AI narrative that's reforming it. Like no one's created a narrative that has replaced a circular accounting narrative or has replaced the other narratives that have been scaring people, right? All those narratives that people have been relying on. Like what I do is I keep trying to look for what stories out there that can give people the sentiment they need to just get stupid. And I just can't see one on the horizon. I can usually see one, but yeah, it's like they have to fix the narrative of AI. And even the Super Bowl commercials, right? Like Claude had a Super Bowl commercial and they had the things like the psychiatrist telling the person ads when they were talking to her, and Claude was like, yeah, you don't want ads in your AI. And I'm like, that's a very bad idea. Right now is not the time for the AI companies to make fun of and point out their competitors' flaws like that. Because right now, the whole industry has a narrative problem. When the industry was going good and everybody believed, like people didn't like AI, but they believed in its competence. Like people, they all thought AI was evil and terrible, but they all also believed that it was this incredible, amazing tech that was too good for its own good and it was going to ruin everyone's life because it was so good. But now people are starting to realize more and more it produces slop. It has a lot of mistakes. It drives people to kill itself. It makes dumb errors. It's doing whatever. Now is not the time to add to the AI as a joke narrative, because right now you guys have a narrative problem and a sentiment problem. And I think the problem is there's nothing new for people to be delusionally optimistic about, to just transfer their FOMO, YOLO, euphoria to that. The only thing I could think of right now is silver and gold. And if you look on YouTube, if you look on Twitter, if you look on places now, there's a big spike, a big rise in silver and gold talk. That's like what people are talking about like crazy now, but how long could that last? Like they're running out of things to hype up. That's the big problem. They're running out of things to hype up. And this was the same guys talking about the Google earnings. This was a good one as well.
In the names firm that.
But
I should say I don't know that.
To your point, it's still impressive, right? Because there's still a decent chunk of that PPC pay-per-click.
So they're talking about how great their earnings are.
Advertising that's still growing at a pretty healthy level. These guys have 126 billion in cash, and they did 132 billion of net income, aka profits, in 2025.
So those are impressive numbers, right? But you're gonna see in real time the stock price is gonna go down.
I mean, some pretty damn big numbers. But yeah, search is growing. Even if AI searches are included in that entire ecosystem, they're doing 132 billion of cash or 132 billion of profits. And I don't think that can necessarily be discounted if we were to see this one go down 5 or 10%. So, O'Reilly's Auto Parts missed by 1% on EPS. They beat by
So at this point, the earnings just came out and they're basically saying that we don't see how this can go down. Everything looks so good. So this is before it started going down.
% on revenue.
So some memory prices.
So then at this point,
Turning now to keep.
So at this point, they start doing the earnings call. So what happens is first they release the earnings paperwork. Then they have the actual call that people listen to. So I got the earnings paperwork, I read it, and then I started listening to the call. And what did they do? If you notice, Alphabet knows that the environment right now. So they mentioned the CapEx up front. As soon as they mention the CapEx, in real time, the price starts going down. They lead with that, and then they end with all this talk about everything else is going good. And you see the price start going back up. But then at the end, when they take questions from the audience or whatever, a big focus goes right back to the CapEx. And all the people keep asking about the CapEx. So they're forced to talk about it at the end anyway. And then it just starts going down, and then it goes down like 10% after hours, after already being down 4% during the day. So it's like no matter how much good stuff they talk about, this fear, the sentiment about CapEx just makes it go back down. And you can see these guys just struggling with cope in real time.
Key highlights from the quarter, starting with search. Search saw more usage in Q4 than ever before as AI continues to drive an expansionary moment. We have executed with incredible speed. We shipped over 250 product launches within AI mode and
So
AI
everything sounds
overviews
good.
just last quarter. We have integrated Gemini 3 directly into AI mode in search. Now search can better understand your query, dive deeper on the web, and generate interactive UI experiences. And last week, we upgraded AI overviews to Gemini 3, giving users a best-in-class AI response at the
So there's
top
a lot
of the
of
search
AI
results
talk.
page. We have also made the search experience more cohesive, ensuring the transition from an AI overview to a conversation in AI mode is completely seamless. These new experiences are proving to be more helpful and are driving greater usage. A few highlights. First, once people start using these new experiences, they use them more. In the US, we saw daily AI mode queries per user double since launch.
I want to find the part where they mentioned the CapEx. So that's when the price drops. But basically, they put it on pretty early, right? Then they get to the Q&A part. I couldn't find the part they mentioned CapEx in the beginning, but they mentioned it pretty early on in the speech. And they have the Q&A.
The first one on agentic. Sundar, I'd be curious to hear about, as you look back at 2025, where do you think you made the most progress on new types of agentic commerce products? And then looking into 26, where are you most optimistic to sort of have even more progress and utility for users and your advertisers? And the second one is on YouTube. You know, we've seen a lot of the new content creation models like Genie, et cetera.
Let's go
Taking the
for it.
question,
Or part of that process.
Used to move outside of Google Cloud and into external data.
And given the overall investment we are making,
Here we go.
The AI engine for some of the most successful software SaaS companies out there in the world, and it just seems like there's a market belief that these software companies are kind of losing seat power, losing pricing power, and it looks like it'd be a really terrible customer base. I can't imagine that that's actually going to happen. But could you just talk about it? You're at the forefront of AI.
So what he talked about here, he asked them about, there's two things that scared everybody last week. One was that AI was going to kill all the software companies. And the second one was the CapEx. So he asked them about one of the big things that was scaring the market. So basically, all the Q&As are asking about the scary stuff and ignoring the good stuff. Whereas last year, they would have been discounting any scary stuff, and it would have all just been a giant circle jerk. So they keep forcing him to talk about. I'm unable to pull the transcript for this because usually when I could pull the transcript, I could jump to the exact parts I want, and unfortunately, I can't do it here. So sorry about that, because I want to jump directly to the questions. But you get the point. Everything asked about was mostly scary stuff. So that they ended on a negative note, even though they were trying to front load the stuff they knew people were scared about. So now you got to watch these guys talk about it after.
You don't want any further remarks?
I mean, the further remarks are just like legal things, right?
It doesn't make sense. Everybody's telling me that be out there for some of the AI ecosystem that I like.
Do a little outro. Hey guys, it's, we got a lot left to go. Okay.
But did you want him to say, guys, buy the stock? It's dumping after hours. What's going on?
I mean, I wouldn't have complained.
He's going to say Sam Altman and pay off the Polymarket odds for what he's going to say in the call. That's what he's probably going to do.
So
congratulations to No151. You just won $10 million in your odds.
All right, Jose, let's start with you. Thoughts on the earnings?
Thoughts on the earnings. I like the cloud growth, like Tanner mentioned at the beginning, 48% growth. I mean, CapEx was great to hear.
So see, the guys are all talking about this stuff, and to me, it's like none of this matters. What matters is what's the normie going to think? All the normie heard was CapEx. That's all they heard. They were told by everybody and their mother in the news, because now it's trendy to talk about it, and on social media, CapEx, circular accounting. So they went in there just wanting to hear that. And then even the experts think everyone else cares about that. So that's what they care about.
They did talk about, there was an analyst that asked the question if they think they're going to be compute constrained after all this CapEx spending. And they said, yeah, I mean, they still believe to be compute constrained. That's where they're kind of investing all.
So that was one of the questions that I was trying to find, but I couldn't find it. But, they asked about the compute constraint and the CapEx spending. So they asked about two of the things scaring people in one question. So, the questions were basically making it that the last thing discussed was exactly what was scaring everybody.
All this money. And the other good point that I really liked is someone asked, what keeps you up at night? And Sundar mentioned.
Yeah, that was another question that was asked at the end. They asked, what keeps you up at night? So they basically primed him to just talk about nothing but bad stuff. Like, think about a question like that. How can you answer a question like that in a positive way? Yeah, so he's asked, so what keeps you up at night based on what's going on in the business? So these are the kind of things that they were forced to end the call on.
That it's right now is definitely the AI constraints, the chips, the power, the land. That's what's keeping him up at night, to make sure he's able to continue to invest and be able to provide an efficient plan for both Google as a business and obviously for the shareholders. So I like the earnings. I mean, with the sell-off happening in the overall market, it's a little bit different from Microsoft. I did buy like the Microsoft dip, but at that time, nothing else was dipping. Even though Google is dipping on this, I think there's still a lot better opportunities maybe out there for some of the AI ecosystem that I like. So this just confirms that thought process that I have. Like, AI stocks are selling off.
Now, as they keep talking, it's going to keep dropping, and you're going to see them just get more and more confused. It's like, what is happening? Everything was so good.
I mean, I guess if you look at Google, why the stock is down, probably it has nothing to do with the results. Even with CapEx increasing, we just talked about it before. CapEx increased, yet free cash flow is flat for the year. So why wouldn't they increase if they see the demand? That the demand is there, the return on investment for them is there. I think the stock is just down right now because it is one of those names that is extremely close to all-time highs. I don't know what the technicals say, if it's still overbought or not, but
yeah. So they're still trying to massage it into fundamentals, like for the reason why. And you just can't accept like you know, it's just a giant herd. People are lemmings.
Maybe it's just Google cooling off a little bit. Everything in this report just screams this is what is the 4 trillion something? Maybe it could be 5 trillion a year from now. I don't know. But the trajectory that they're on.
Can we talk about that? What are they going to do? Is it old GPUs?
60% services, 40% data center.
Yeah, they're still like over analyzing it, and the fundamentals just don't matter.
Okay, so it's all. What do you mean by services exactly?
Services and search. So anything that.
See, this is what I think makes stocks trickier than crypto. When crypto goes up and down, it's easier to see it as it's going up and down because it's going up and down. Because there's nothing to lie to yourself about what it could be. But with stocks, because there's a company involved and there's lots of numbers and there's lots of stuff for smart people to play with, it's very natural to try to make a logic out of it. You know what I mean? Like, if this was Bitcoin, people would just be like, okay, people are just scared. The narrative about Bitcoin sucks right now, or people are just broke or whatever. But when it comes to this, it's like you want to believe that you listen to all that for a reason. You know, you want to believe that what you're doing is like a science, you know? So you kind of get stuck in this trap. You really don't want to believe it's just that easy. Like, you know, just follow where dumb people with money are going.
They'll really propel that. So I don't know if I think data centers involved with their own build out of data centers, and the 60% would be like TPUs, because that's attributing directly to search and services.
Yeah, but build what?
Oh, okay. So it seems like that's how they're going to break it down. Like the
servers and
data
machines.
centers, yeah, 60%.
Yeah, they're still trying to make sense out of this in a way that's based on, like, you know, hard numbers and logic and business sense.
And it's going to go for like their core search business, and the 40% is going to go for their Google Cloud business. So that's how they're breaking it up first. Then in form of spending $180 billion, I think it's reported like at least 60% is the AI GPUs, the other 40%.
Yeah, and I just think it's kind of a waste of time. But enough of that. I'm going to get to something else that builds on this. I'm going to break down my philosophy, and I made a spreadsheet. My first time making a spreadsheet, and let's see if I can get it to work. Okay, this is my spreadsheet. Does it show? Okay. Modern investing, target maxing. Excuse my political incorrectness. So here we go. This is what I think matters. Fundamentals matter least to me. What does matter? And this is why I think will be pretty controversial to a lot of people. First, liquidity. Now, what is liquidity? Liquidity means how much ready-to-use money you have available to invest or spend right now without having to sell something first. I'm sure there's a more official, fancier definition. This may not be like the true to the letter, like a real definition. Like, you know, if you put this on a business school test, maybe you'll get partial credit. But for the purposes of this conversation, in an easy to understand way, that's what I think liquidity is. So high liquidity for you as an investor, you've got cash or near cash sitting around that you can deploy immediately. For example, you've got $8,000 in your checking, savings, or money market fund you can invest right now. Low liquidity for you as an investor. Most of your network is tied up in things you'd have to sell to raise cash. Even worse if they're in the red. So you don't want to sell them because it's like, oh crap, I might take a big loss on that and record that loss. And, you know, psychologically I don't want to do that, or for whatever reason, I think it's going to go back up. I'm stuck. That's low liquidity. So like your money is mostly in stocks, crypto, real estate. So to invest in a new opportunity means you need to liquidate, sell something first. And that might take time or force a bad price or a tax bill, maybe. Maybe you're not underwater, but you'd have to force a tax bill and you don't want to have to own all the taxes. So a simple way to say it, liquidity, how much dry powder do I have? Now, during the pandemic, a lot of people had a lot of money. They had a lot of money saved. Then they saved even more money because they were staying home, not commuting, not going out to party, not spending, not doing stuff. So people were just throwing money at stocks because they had stocks. Margin was cheap. They were just getting margin. You know, they had credit card space. Things weren't that bad yet. They had buy now, pay later just hit. Like people were able to be pretty liquid. And what it's kind of like is, you know, when you go into a store, one of the reasons why they like having the credit card table at the front of the store back in the days was because they know when you have easy money at hand, you know, whether it's credit or whether it's cash, when you have liquidity, you're going to be less discerning. So when I went to college, they used to push the credit cards on the college kids hard. Because they know, like, if you went in there with your hard-earned cash, you might be more picky about what you're buying. But if you're going there with credit card, it all feels like free. And if you have to sell something to buy stuff at the mall, then you're really going to be picky. You know, like people are less discerning when they feel more flush with money. And people were just throwing money at anything. People were just looking for stuff to throw money at. Let me throw it at crypto. Let me throw it at that. That's the thing that was happening. That matters more than fundamentals. People with flush with money will overlook all types of fundamentals. People who are broke, they will look over the prospectus and the fundamentals and the earnings with a fine-tooth comb and focus on the negatives like crazy. So liquidity, I think, is one thing that matters. And liquidity, I think, also fuels sentiment. Because sentiment is the second thing I think matters more than fundamentals. When you're flush with money and you feel rich, you feel euphoric. You feel like good. Your sentiment is great. So you're just gonna go and spend money like crazy. So it's like they kind of tie into each other. I'm flush with money. I'm pretty liquid. I got cash. I can throw at all types of investments. Let me try this crypto. You have a shit coin. What's that thing that they had? That crypto art. What was it called that was popping during the? Oh yeah, everybody hit like. I forgot. I was supposed to ask people. She said comment for the algorithm. I actually remember you're supposed to talk about what am I supposed to say? Comment, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Yeah. Help the algorithm out. Everybody in here. Everybody in here. NFT. Thank you. Yeah, NFTs. Only people like with money to blow are gonna do something like NFTs. Nobody who's like, you know, worried about making rent or stuff like that, you know, is gonna imagine only in the high liquidity. And one of the reasons why there was so much liquidity was because the interest rates were so low. It was like zero interest rates. Like it was low interest rates for companies. It was low interest rates for people. Stimulus checks were hitting. So people were just flush with money from that. You know, yeah. So the sentiment is great and the liquidity is great. Yeah. So yeah, hit the likes, leave the comments, share, subscribe. Let's get the algorithm going. Yeah, and share this with people because we're gonna drop some knowledge here. I think there's 32 slides. We're on slide 5. This will go fast. So what's sentiment? In investing, sentiment in the Keynes beauty contest sense. I'll explain what the beauty contest is in a second. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Sentiment in the Keynes beauty contest sense isn't mainly how you feel about stock or even how you think other people feel about it. It's more like how you think other people feel about it. It sounds weird, but it's a real thing markets do. The beauty contest version. So Keynes, the economist, I believe it was Keynes who said this, right? They thought, hey, because I'm such a good person when it comes to economics, I should do great in the stock market. And they tried the stock market and they weren't doing great in it. And I think they were suffering from what I talked about, which is if you're right too early, you might as well be wrong. And I used to had that problem all the time. I used to be too smart about my investing and I'd make the right calls. But I'd make it like way too early. I had to like sit out while a dumb stock was flying through the roof, you know, and my theories would usually end up right. But I had to like see a good stock just suffer for like a year before it paid off for me, or a bad stock just do great for like forever before it went down, and I was proven right about it. And what Keynes realized was that he was too focused on like the fundamentals of it, and he was and he came up with this construct, this thought experiment. He said, imagine that a newspaper had a contest called the beauty contest, and what the beauty contest is it puts like a bunch of pictures of women's faces, but you win the contest by guessing which face other readers are going to think is the most beautiful face. So you might think a face is the most beautiful, and so do most other people, but most other people might think, well, damn, I think most people are going to vote for this one. And they might all vote for something, and it turns out that nobody actually likes that face the most. Or it's just that most people just assume everyone else is going to like it. And so imagine a contest where you win not by picking the face you think the prettiest, but by picking the face you think most people will pick. But this I didn't put it right. I should say by picking the face you think most people will pick. That's actually the better way to put it. Now level it up. You don't just ask what will most people think. You ask what do most people think most people will pick. That's sentiment in markets. So it's like a second order type of so what does sentiment really measure here? Sentiment equals the market's shared guess about the crowd's next move. But most people don't realize this is what they're supposed to do. Most people think they're analyzing what's the best stock, because most people think that the market is rational. And what people are really doing is that they're doing what I'm saying they're doing, which is they're trying to guess what most other people think most other people will get. But they tell themselves, they backwards rationalize because they want to believe that they're in the myth of the stock market and that it's really based on something real, that it's not just this frivolous thing, and that they're cultivating a real expertise that matters. They tell themselves doing something differently, right? So it's second order or third order thinking. I think the crowd will buy. But more importantly, I think the crowd thinks the crowd will buy. So I buy first. Why it matters. Prices can move a lot even without new quote unquote facts, because sentiment shifts fast. If people start believing everybody's about to get bullish, money rushes in, price rises. If people start believing everyone's about to get scared, money rushes out, price falls. So that's what's happening now. Everyone believes everyone else is going to get scared about CapEx. That's so all this stuff these guys are thinking about, what's going on with this and that and the GPUs and the processing power means the compute. No, everybody is convinced everyone else is scared of the word CapEx. So they all listen to the meeting and they hear CapEx said once, CapEx said twice, CapEx said 3 times, CapEx said 4 times, 5 times. Gotta go, gotta sell. And it becomes a huge cascading event. That's all that they had to think. Everybody before, when it was going up, they all bought because they believed everyone else was going to buy as soon as they heard a few things. So before, when they thought that AI was this amazing technology, that was whoever had the most of it was going to rule the world, hearing the CapEx was actually a good thing. Oh, these people are spending the most. They're going to do the best. So they were doing the same thing in reverse. Like, they weren't doing all this deep thought that those guys thought they were doing. All they were doing was, whoever wins the AI race wins it all. So you said CapEx. Oh, you've been spending the most. You're gonna win. I'm gonna give you my money. You know, the buzzword industrial complex. Yeah, exactly. So one line definition you can use. So sentiment is less about truth and more about expectations of expectations, a social feedback loop. So one line definition you can use. Sentiment is the market's collective meta belief about what the crowd is about to believe and do. So fundamentals matter least. What does matter? Next, momentum/mechanical. Now, this is just purely mechanical, like, stuff. Like, if I pull a rubber band back hard enough, the natural physics of it is gonna snap back just as hard. If I throw something up, gravity's gonna pull it down. This is just movement based on the physics of the market. This is just purely physical. And this is gonna sound weird describing market physics, but I'll tell you, I'll give you examples. Mechanical/technical movement. A mechanical technical move is a price move that happens mostly because of the market's built-in behaviors and constraints. Who is forced to buy or sell? Who runs out of ammo, and how crowd trading works. Not because of new facts about the company or the economy. Think of price like something that can be stretched too far in either direction. And if you find this useful, hit like, comment, share, subscribe, the usual stuff. So oversold. This is a rubber band bounce. Something gets sold so much, it gets oversold. It goes overboard, and then it just automatically corrects. It's like the rubber band bounce. You pull the rubber band too far, and then you let it go, and it snaps back. So that's why a lot of times, for example, if we have a historically bad day in the market, a lot of times I'll just go in and I'll just buy an index fund because I know there's a very good chance that it's going to snap back. First off, like, sellers get tired. Like, you literally get exhausted. And then also all these people kind of calm down and the fear wears off. And you're like, oh shit, like, what did I do? I sold so much. Look at all these deals. And everyone runs in to buy the dip. Hold on one second. Let me get this off. So a stock or the whole market gets crushed today and looks oversold. Tomorrow it bounces. Not because the world changed overnight. Nothing changed about the facts on the ground, the economics behind any of this stuff, but because sellers get exhausted. Most of the people who want to sell already sold. Shorts take profits. Like, they buy back shares. Like, people who are shorting the stock, they have to buy shares back to complete the short. Dip buyers rules kick in. Like, some traders or algos buy automatically after big drops. So there's people who preset things to buy the minute something goes low, and some people manually go in and buy the dips. Forced selling ends. So like, there's people who set stop losses. Like, you know, if the stock goes down, so mechanics can cause it to go down too. Like, if the stock goes down to a certain point, I want my account to automatically sell the stock. So, like, say I have a Google stock, and I say, if the stock goes down 5%, I want you to sell. So then, say a bunch of people have a similar rule. The stock goes down 5%. All of our stock gets sold automatically because we all have the same rule. What happens when all our stocks get sold? The price drops down further because of that huge wave of selling. So now the stock price drops another 5% based on all of our rules being triggered. When that drop happens, then the next wave of people who had a stop loss get liquidated. And their liquidation causes another leg down. And the lower you go, the more people you probably have who have rules set up, you know? So what happens is the selling gets triggered, which in turn triggers more people's rules. So, but then the same thing happens in reverse. There's a bunch of people who set up rules to buy. Like if it gets this low, I want you to automatically buy me in. So when it gets low enough, all those people whose rules got triggered for buying, they all get put back into the stock. So that's why a lot of times you have violent snapbacks after a huge drop. Is everybody with me? Everyone's so quiet. I hope I didn't lose anybody. I hope I didn't put anybody to sleep. I hope you're all with me and you're finding it useful. If so, just let me know. And the other thing is liquidity normalizes. Like panic made it overshoot downward. When buyers return, you know, it snaps back. So that's one example. That's one example of mechanical. The other example, you know, overbought, buyers get exhausted, drop. So a stock, this is an example of how mechanical stuff works. So too many people are buying the stock. This is the opposite of a drop down. A stock rips upward and looks overbought. Way too many people bought. The next day it drops or stalls, not because the company suddenly got worse, but because the buyers got exhausted. Everyone was eager to buy already bought. Profit taking hits. People who rode the run up, they sell and take their gains. Late chasers stop chasing. They figure, I missed the window. I'm probably at the top. I'm going to stop buying. Stops on long positions trigger. So a small pullback can set off more selling. Liquidity thins at the top. Not many buyers left at those high prices. So basically, when there's less people trading, like it slows down, like the movement slows down. These are other purely mechanical physics that move prices, and they can cause things to move across stocks, ETFs, index, commodities, everything. Stop cascades. So price hits common stop levels, as in like when it hits this level, I want you to sell my shares, get rid of them. So automatic sells or buys trigger a price movement, which then triggers more automatic selling and buying, which triggers more automatic selling and buying. So I'm gonna give you an example. It can happen across markets, right? So for example, I'm sure a lot of y'all saw Bitcoin go down to like almost under 60,000. Do you see how it dropped from like 80,000 to like 60,000, whatever? So what was happening is a lot of people who invest in Bitcoin are like degenerate gamblers. They are highly leveraged. They're take a lot of margin. They borrow a lot of money to get Bitcoin because they're like, they have the FOMO YOLO, the fear of missing out. You only live once. So what happens when all that Bitcoin price drop happens? If you're on margin, right, your collateral for the debt is your security, is the Bitcoin. If your amount of Bitcoin falls below your debt, now your collateral is less than your debt. You might have $80,000 of debt, but only $60,000 of collateral. So what happens? Your broker is going to want you to make up the windfall. So it's like, okay, you're $20 short, you're $20,000 short in collateral. Where are you going to get it from? Now, if you had that cash lying around, you wouldn't have gone that deep in debt. So chances are you've got to sell something to cover this. So why did we say that is when you have to sell things to, cover things? That's low liquidity. So say you believe in your Bitcoin, you think it's going to go up and you don't want to take that loss on the Bitcoin, right? Or maybe you're still up on the Bitcoin, even though it went down 20,000 and you don't want to get that tax hit, right? You might look for something else to sell. So the Bitcoin going down that much, what it was causing last week was it was causing people to sell other things like their gold, their stocks, their oil, their all types of things, their silver, their copper stocks, their ETFs. Some people were liquidating 401ks and Roth IRAs. People liquidating all types of stuff. So sometimes that's an example of the physics. The mechanics going down on your Bitcoin can lead to the stock market going down, because now suddenly everybody is going and selling their stocks. So you might have something where nothing is going wrong with the stocks. Your stocks are doing great, but the stocks are going down when everything else is going down. You think, why are these stocks going down when they have no problems? They didn't have bad earnings, didn't have anything. They're going down because they're being punished for doing well, as in somebody is selling this to cover a margin call or something else that went wrong. And that thing could be Bitcoin, it could be other stocks, it could be other things. So that's what this thing is here. The margin leverage unwind. If people are leveraged, a move against them forces selling or buying back shorts, speeding things up. So if you notice, one reason why I knew Thursday was going to be the end of all this was Bitcoin jumped back up from 60,000 to 70,000 overnight. And once that happened, I realized on Friday morning, you're not going to have a bunch of Bitcoin holders rushing to sell everything that's not tied down to cover the latest margin call on their Bitcoin. And sure enough, Friday, everything started going back up. Like, you just needed one thing to break the cycle. But when everything's going down, everybody's margin calls are happening at once. And everybody's rushing around looking for stuff to liquidate. People whose stocks went down are liquidating their Bitcoin. People's Bitcoin went down, liquidating their gold. People's gold went down, liquidating. It's all exacerbating each other, because everybody who's liquidating to cover their margin call is causing a price drop somewhere else, which in turn is triggering more margin calls, which in turn is making that person go and sell stuff. So options hedging effects. Option hedging effects are market makers adjust hedges as price moves. Sometimes that pushes price further or causes weird pinning near certain levels. I know that's confusing. I'll explain that in a later slide. Rebalancing / index flows. Funds buy, sell because of rules like month-end index changes, not opinions. So like some ETFs and some hedge funds or whatever, they have to rebalance. Like, you can't have too much of one stock. So if one stock grows too much in the ETF, they might have to sell some of that stock and move into some of another stock. That's an example of mechanics. The passive investing thing I mentioned with 401k money just going automatically into the same funds and causing all the stocks in that fund to go up. That's another example of physics and mechanics. Support / resistance crowd behavior. Lots of traders place orders around the same obvious levels, creating bounces of rejections just from order flow. Gaps and thin order books. If there aren't many orders sitting nearby, prices can jump suddenly even without big news. That means, like, because it's so thinly traded, this happens a lot in overnight markets. A small trade can make a big difference, have an outsized effect compared to usual. So this thing, in the last slide, I said option hedging effects of market makers. But for people who don't know what that means, who are market makers? Market makers are the always open store of the stock / options world. They're the ones willing to buy when you want to sell, and sell when you want to buy. So trading stays smooth. So imagine you had to go and find someone who wanted to buy 10 shares of your stock at the moment you wanted to sell it every time. It would be a huge headache. So what market makers do is, there are people who just buy stocks that are out there being sold to keep things going. You know what I mean? So you don't have to find in real time the person who wants to buy those 10 stocks at the time that you want to sell them. The market maker is the middleman who's going to do that for you, and then they'll like resell it. But one thing that market makers do, because say like way too many people are like selling a stock or buying a stock or whatever, if it gets too overloaded in one direction, it might end up getting stuck with a bad stock and take a huge fall. So what market makers do is they buy and sell stocks to off hedge whatever they're doing to keep their balance and not go broke. So they don't want to guess whether a stock will go up or down because they have to do this all day long. They don't have the time to worry about that. They want to stay as neutral as possible. So they hedge. What is hedging in plain English? Hedging is just protecting yourself. If a market maker sells a bunch of bets to other people, say options, they often protect themselves by buying or selling some of the actual stock so they won't get crushed if that stock moves. And here's the key part. As the stock price moves, the amount of protection they need changes. So they keep adjusting their protection. That constant adjusting can affect the stock's price. So you have these market makers who are not actually real investors. They don't have any belief in the stock. They're agnostic as to the stock, but they can end up causing a movement in the stock just by the nature of their function. So you end up in these weird feedback loops that happen from market makers. Okay, it's there we go. Pinning. Why a stock sometimes gets stuck near a certain price. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. So continuing with the option hedging effects and the market makers. How hedging can push the price further like a football, like a snowball. Imagine a ton of people make bets that a stock will go up. The market maker ends up on the other side of those bets. To protect themselves, they buy some shares. Now the stock starts rising. As it rises, the market maker's risk grows. So to stay protected, they often must buy even more shares. So you get a feedback loop like this. The price rises, market makers buy shares to protect themselves. That buying to protect themselves makes the price go up even more. So now they have to buy more again to protect themselves. So this is how the feedback loop happens. And when you understand that, it helps you understand and predict where stocks are going to go. That's how hedging can accidentally act like extra fuel in the same direction the stock is already moving. And it can work the other way too. If lots of people bet it will fail, the protective trading can add pressure downward. So I think a lot of that was happening last week too. I think that's way more to do than the analysis of the fundamentals that those guys were doing and all the TPUs and all this stuff. It's all emotion and physics happening more than anything else. Pinning. Why a stock sometimes gets stuck near a certain price. You might notice that some days, especially near option expiration, a stock keeps hovering around a nice round number like 100. This can happen because a huge number of options or bets are tied to that exact price level. Market makers are constantly adjusting their protection as the stock wiggles above and below 100. So they're going to get wiped out if it hits 100 because too many people bet on that price. So they're buying and selling to keep it below. These adjustments can create a tug-of-war effect. If a stock drifts a bit above 100, the market maker's protective trading can create some pressure and nudges it back down. If it drifts a little bit below 100, the protective trading might create some pressure and nudges it back up. So a price can feel magnetized to that number, like a ball rolling into a shadow dip and setting there. And I'm trying to make something complicated sound very simple. So I hope I'm not losing people. I hope this is making a lot of sense. So one sentence takeaway. Options hedging effects are when market makers' protective buying and selling, done just to manage risk, ends up accidentally pushing prices harder in one direction or holding them near certain magnet price levels. Next thing that matters more than fundamentals, narratives. And an example of narrative is what just happened, why we just talked about this whole thing about right now, there's a bunch of negative AI narratives. The narratives are circular trading, right? It's all about not circular trading, circular accounting, data center cost, environmental cost, compute power. There's not enough power to function these things, profitability, and the capital expenditure that's being spent despite all these things, especially capital expenditure. That's what the main narrative that everyone's stuck on. I think narrative is probably one of the biggest things of all. And last week's thing was just a giant narrative problem. And they had two narratives that were coexisting that made no sense, right? Taken together. AI both is not going to work. That's one narrative. Like AI is a waste of time. All these companies spending money on it are going to get burned. It's a doom technology. It's a doom technology, but it's also going to kill everything. So usually people believe one thing. People usually believe one narrative, that this new technology is going to kill all these old technologies. They're going to fail, but it's going to thrive. Or some people think this new technology is going to fail, but all the old ones are going to survive. But we were in this weird, illogical, mutual paradox narrative happening where all the software companies were getting crushed because the narrative was AI is going to kill all of this stuff. But also, AI wasn't benefiting because people were saying AI is going to fail. So somehow it was like a kamikaze technology. It was killing every other tech company according to one narrative, but it was also committing suicide according to the second narrative. So there's nothing to invest in tech, right? So anyway, this is a popular saying that gets said. It's popularized by Warren Buffett, but it was supposedly originally said by his mentor, Benjamin Graham. It happened in the 30s or 40s. In the short run, the market is a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine. So to put it another way, in the short run, the market values narratives. In the long run, it cares about fundamentals. This is not true anymore. This is a truism that gets said, but we are in clown world. We are in bulltard world. You have to think like these people. And there is no weighing machine. The scale is broken. And it's because of the internet and the way things have changed. So this is not true anymore. But why? Back when it was said, it was true because people cared about things like profits and tangibles, but now they don't. So why it's not true anymore? The quote is less true now because markets spend way more time voting on stories before they weigh the results, if they ever do. Since the dot-com era, it's become normal for big companies to run for years mainly on narrative, future potential, market share, growth stories, and winner take most expectations. The biggest cause of this is Amazon. Like everyone always justifies ignoring fundamentals and focusing on market share and growth because they use Amazon as example. They're like, look at Amazon. And people ignore the million other companies that went for Amazon's strategy and it didn't work. So even this whole streaming thing, they just thought we're just going to get market share and then we're going to dominate, and it just didn't work. Like it actually doesn't work way more often than it does work, but everybody is so stuck on it's the next Amazon that people ignore all the times it doesn't work. People ignore all the times that it didn't even work in Amazon's day. There were a lot of companies in Amazon's day, pets.com, all these different companies that went under, but survivorship bias, or people only remember the one it worked for. So traditional profit and loss numbers matter later or get redefined. I would say they don't really matter at all, but I'm going to be a little gracious. A clean way to say it, the old world is show me profits now. The new world is show me dominance later. Or another way is the short run is a popularity contest. The long run used to be the report card. You know, but now the long run often becomes who becomes the platform contest. Now, what does that mean? Are you guys with me? I see only a few people talking. Let me know if I'm losing you. So here's the core argument in plain English. Modern markets often reward companies for becoming the place where everyone goes, not for being traditionally profitable and making tangible things. So even if profits aren't big yet, it doesn't matter because once you win by winning the market share, winning the narrative, and becoming the top guy, becoming the Facebook, you know, like the dominant thing, becoming the Instagram, becoming the OpenAI or the Google of search. Like once you become the name in your area of expertise, the profit will come later, right? You can make money later once you win. So the prices can stay high for a long time based on this company will own the future, not this company earns more today. And when the dot-com bubble first happened, a lot of people had trouble adjusting to that. People resisted it all the way, and they thought it was crazy and it was cultish and nuts. And that's why the first dot-com crash happened. It was seen as very irrational, but in the long run, that mindset won. Now it's very normalized to think that way, to not worry about traditional profits, to use new weird metrics, to worry about like user growth and all these things that are revenues without profit and all that stuff. So why did this shift happen? Simple reasons. Tech business can grow without matching costs. Software can be copied and sold to millions with relatively low extra costs. So investors pay for future scale, not current profit. So there's a phrase, in software, size comes first, profit comes later. 2, network effects make winners huge. Some products get better as more people use them, like social networks, marketplaces, payment apps. Also, I'll say like certain types of software. This creates winner takes most dynamics. So hence the phrase, the market pays for the chance to become the default. Oh, damn, this is heavy. Somebody tied it to slavery. I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah. So intangible value is harder to weigh early. Brand. So these are some of the intangibles or the vanity metrics I talk about that people care about that has become very normalized to talk about. Like even like actual investment experts now think and talk this way at investment banks. Like, so the brand, the data. Remember I said how having data became a big thing and that became a big technology appeal. User base, algorithms, ecosystem, switching costs. These don't show up neatly like the old metrics, like factories and inventories and profits, and they're all kind of vague and nebulous. So that's another reason why the market is a voting machine in the short run, but a weighing machine in the long run is not true anymore. Big money can follow trends for a long time. So index funds, ETFs, algorithms, and momentum strategies can keep buying what's already been going up, reinforcing long runs. This is what I was talking about with the passive trading, the passive influx flows, and the retirement funds just automatically buying the same stocks every single week. But it also works in reverse. If there's mass layoffs, and this is another reason why I'm afraid to get back into the market until I see what's happening. As people keep losing their jobs, what's going to keep happening? Because I talked about what happens when people get paid every paycheck and it goes right into the ETF and it goes up. But the same thing happens in reverse. People start losing their jobs. They start doing hardship withdrawals from their 401ks. When they withdraw from their 401k and they sell those ETFs have to sell the underlying stock. So as people keep losing jobs, and so one of the things that I look at when I judge the market is I look at because they measure this and they release it all the time. Hardship withdrawals of 401ks. If I see a lot of hardship withdrawals of 401ks happening, then I know there's a lot of downward pressure on the big stocks. So price can create demand, not just reflect it. Next thing, so as these things go up, more of the stocks get bought passively, and then it just creates a reinforcing loop. Next, growth math can overpower profit math. Growth is different than profit. Now we care more about growth and the narrative around the growth than we care about the profit. So if a company is growing fast, investors may tolerate losses in the company's fundamentals because they believe the company will flip a profit switch later. Like you're losing money like crazy now, but you're growing so fast, I'm going to ignore that you're not making profits and you're losing revenue because I believe you're going to be able to figure out how to make profit later. That's what people are stuck on with AI. They all believe that AI is going to figure out how to profit later once it dominates everything. So if a company is growing fast, investors may tolerate losses because they believe the company will flip a profit switch later. Hence the phrase, losses are treated like investment, not failure, until they aren't, which is where we're headed at now. We're at a until they aren't part. So summed up in a paragraph, voting versus weighing is less reliable today because since the dot-com revolution, markets have normalized valuing companies more like long-term bets on dominance than like current profit machines. In tech especially, scale and network effects can create winner takes most outcomes. So investors price in the story of future control even when today's profits are small. That makes narrative stocks capable of multi-year runs where the vote lasts a lot longer and the weighing either happens later or uses new yardsticks. And I'll add something even crazier. Because this has become normalized for tech, something people do now is knowing that people are willing to forgive this type of thinking for tech, people are now taking regular companies and making them feel like tech companies so that people can start doing this dumb logic with them. So for example, Uber and Lyft are taxi companies. Yes, you use an app to order it, but is it really about the tech? At the end of the day, it's a taxi company, but people are willing to treat it with these lowered, weird standards because once you vaguely make it feel techish, then the narrative stuff happens. So there's a lot of companies that are just fake tech companies. Like WeWork is basically doing the same thing that Regis and all these other virtual office and office space companies were doing. It's real estate, but they had some kind of weird payment system happening and they gave it like a tech bro kind of feel, and it just started becoming treated like tech, and there's a lot of companies like this. So this degenerate tech narrative mindset has become spread to all types of stuff that doesn't apply to. It's become so normalized that it's out of control, and people are still operating these old truisms. Like every time I hear a financial influencer keep saying like, the market is a voting machine in the short run, but in the long term, it's a weighing machine. Like, shut up, it's not. Like, but they keep backwards rationalizing how fundamentals are still winning and mattering, and it's not. It doesn't matter. It does not. So important nuance. It's not that fundamentals don't matter. It's more like fundamentals got delayed and redefined by motivated reasoning, meaning I have a motivation to believe this thing, so I'm going to backwards rationalize what it is and get interpreted through the lens of sentiment, momentum / technicals, narrative, and liquidity. So instead of earning today, it becomes market share, growth, retention, future pricing power, and vanity metrics. Now, what I mean by this sentence up here about what I mean by I got here. What I mean by this sentence is about fundamentals got delayed and redefined by and interpreted through the lens of sentiment, technicals, narrative, and liquidity. What I mean is the fundamentals get filtered through the lens of sentiment, narrative, like everything I talked about before. That's when fundamentals matter. So what I mean is, during the rise of the AI stocks and the rise of this bubble, people would look at the earning reports, which is the fundamentals, and based on the momentum of the stock, based on the liquidity, how much money do I have to spend on buying more of the stock? Based on the narrative, like what is a narrative? What does a stock need to show me to win? Does it need to show me that it has profit today, or does it need to show me that it's just growing and it's going to dominate later, right? And also like the sentiment, like, how am I feeling about this? Well, I'm feeling really good because my portfolio has a lot of momentum. The narrative is coming true, and I have a lot of liquidity. I feel great. Now let me read these fundamentals. Because of what you're coming to the fundamentals with, because of the sentiment, the technicals, I mean, the technical stock movement, meaning pure physics of the stock, the momentum, because of the narrative that you believe about the stock, because of the liquidity that you have, you're going to view those fundamentals in the most gracious, nice way possible. But if it's like last week where everything is like shit, where it's like the momentum is like sucking, the narrative has been reversed for like months. There've been months of negative AI narrative being drilled into people's heads. And because of that, the sentiment kind of sucks, and everybody is struggling more than ever now because of inflation and job loss and job precarity. So people's liquidity feels fragile. Now the fundamentals are going to over matter, and different things in the fundamentals are going to matter. Like before, everything was lined up for FOMO YOLO. I just want to excuse to buy the stock. Now everything is geared toward I'm scared, I want to get out. I'm looking for any excuse to sell this thing. So I just want to, I've been told that CapEx is something bad. I don't understand why, but I never understood why it was good when the stock was going up. So I'm just going to trust you like I trusted you before. And so fundamentals matter through the prism of everything I've been talking about before. Those 4 things that I talked about before determine how fundamentals get read. So basically, they determine whether you're going to be looking at the fundamentals with rose-colored glasses or shit-colored glasses. So I spend most of my time trying to figure out what glasses everybody's wearing now. Like 90% of my analysis is the larger psychology of, is everyone wearing rose-colored glasses, clear glasses, or shit-colored glasses right now? And then I filter everything through that lens as far as fundamentals go. So fundamentals, to me, comes last on the list, and it gets filtered to the first 4. So the fundamentals get filtered through the first 4. For the other reason why fundamentals don't matter so much is because earnings come out quarterly. You have 4 earnings a year. The rest of the time, you're kind of flying blind. So how can fundamentals carry in a world where people are constantly looking for information and constantly trying to get an edge and constantly trying to get up to the minute stuff? The fundamentals only happen like really once every 3 months. The rest of the time has to be filled in with a bunch of other stuff, headlines, macroeconomic data, all this other stuff, and all the things I'm talking about before. So it's like, just by the bottleneck of coming out four times a year, I think limits how much fundamentals can matter. So this is what vanity metrics are. Vanity metrics are fundamentals that aren't fundamentals. So this is the other thing. Not only do fundamentals not matter, but a lot of the things that people call fundamentals are pseudo fundamentals. So in addition to those 4 things mattering more and being the lens through which you use fundamentals, half what people count as fundamentals now, I don't even think are real fundamentals as far as like, do you make money? Do you make anything tangible? Vanity metrics are numbers that look impressive and help a company's story sound big, like they fuel the narrative, but they don't automatically prove the company is making real money or will. They're called vanity because they can make management and investors feel good, like popularity stats, without guaranteeing the business is healthy. Why they become more common? As more companies, especially tech, were valued on future dominance instead of current profits, investors started focusing on proof of growth and attention. So companies lean harder on metrics that show people are showing up, engagement is high, the quote-unquote platform is growing, etc., even if profits are weak or far away. Examples of vanity metrics, these are simple ones. These can matter, but they're often vanity when they're used as a substitute for money making. Users / signups / downloads. We have 200 million users, but how many pay? How many will stay? Like AI uses tons of vanity metrics. monthly active users / daily active users. Everyone's on our apps, but are they spending? Are they clicking ads? Are costs rising faster? How much time do they spend? Engagement, time spent, likes, shares, watch hours. Attention does not equal profits by itself. Follower count / buzz, big hype can fade fast. Revenue growth without profit. Sales doubled, but if costs tripled, that's not success. Gross bookings / GMV, total stuff sold through the platform, can be huge even if the company's take is small and expenses are high. So it can be a misleading number. Adjusted numbers that remove painful parts. Metrics that exclude stock compensation, buybacks, one-time costs, etc., can make things look healthier than cash reality. Also, like creative accounting, like the circular accounting that seems like revenue, but it's being flushed around. Or like sometimes people will hide losses in their CapEx. You can massage fundamentals like all the time. 5 more slides. The key distinction, and this is like a high school dumbed down version. I want to make it easy for people to understand. Vanity metrics equal, so this is dumbed down so a high schooler can understand it. Vanity metrics equal, are people showing up and paying attention? Real business metrics, are we keeping money after cost? Real metrics tend to be profit or a clear path to profit, cash flow, actual cash coming in versus going out, unit economics, does each customer eventually make you money? Customer retention and pricing power, can you keep them and charge more? Why vanity metrics can be dangerous? They can support a stock's price for a long time because they feed the narrative. So they look like fundamentals, but they're really in the narrative category. So I call them pseudo fundamentals. Pseudo fundamentals are narrative disguised as the narrative and sentiment disguised as fundamentals. To defeat the narrative, we're growing fast, so profit will come later. But if the company never proves it can turn popularity into cash, the market eventually stops voting and starts weighing again, and stock can reprice brutally. So another example of a company that's a fake tech company is Tesla. At the end of the day, Tesla is a car company, but it doesn't get held to the status of a car company because it pushes itself as a tech company, and it makes all these crazy promises that never come true. So we're almost done. One line takeaway, which is put in one line. Vanity metrics measure popularity and activity, which are just another way to say sentiment, narrative, and momentum. Fundamentals measure whether the business can actually produce and keep money. And no one really talks about that anymore. Like the Mag 7, the stocks that move the market the most, the ones that are 20 to 30% of the market, run on most of the stuff that I just talked about. So this is the last thing I'm going to say. This is another thing that people say that is not true. There's a lot of truisms that used to be true, but are not true. I'm going to end it with this. Don't fight the Fed. Not true. People fight the Fed all the time. They just tell themselves that they're not. Now, I'll give you an example. During the COVID era, during the pandemic, over and over, they kept saying, Jerome Powell, he kept making it clear he's trying to crash the market. The market's too overheated. We need more jobs lost. We need to slow down the economy, to slow down interest, whatever. He was saying in plain English all this stuff. And for like years straight, as the interest rates kept going up and he kept saying, we got to slow down, no one took him seriously. No one listened. People laughed in his face and they kept buying stocks. And we had a huge bull run. And all these people who say, don't fight the Fed when the Fed is cutting rates and there's all this liquidity added and everything's going up, suddenly they were ignoring what the Fed was saying. So I asked one of my friends who is a true believer in the idea of a rational market, and he believes all the truisms of all this stuff. He's been an investor much longer than me. And I was like, why does everyone say don't fight the Fed but he's actually saying straight up, I want to crash everything. I'm trying to slow down the economy. I'm trying to slow down the stock market. The stock market is going too crazy. Every Fed meeting, he'd be like, the stock market is going too crazy. I'm going to do this. And everyone's like, he's bluffing. He's lying. They started pricing in price cuts. They're making price cut predictions. They were like, he's going to cut the price. He doesn't mean it. And then my friend was like, no, like, we don't fight the Fed, but I go by what the Fed means, not what he says. And I was like, wait a minute, how does that even work? That's still fighting the Fed. So basically, what his rationalization was telling me, he was believing still this truism that he doesn't fight the Fed. But what he's saying is, when the Fed says what I want to hear, they're telling the truth. So I'm not fighting them. But when they say what I don't want to hear, what I don't want to believe, then I've independently decided that they're lying and they really mean this. So I'm going what the Fed actually means. So I'm not fighting the Fed. And when he told me that, he basically said, yeah, don't fight the Fed means going by what the Fed actually means, not by what they say, which was different when the Fed was saying that they wanted to cut rates. Suddenly what the Fed was saying was fine. That's when I realized, like, okay, this is not true. Like, and then this is what the real thing is. Don't fight the bulltards. That's the real thing to do if you want to invest. That is what it's really about. Find the craziest permeables, what I call bulltards, people who just will believe the bullish thing no matter what. They never want to believe any of that stuff, and go by them. Don't fight them. If they're against the Fed, go with them every time. When they start, like right now, they're scared of this Kevin Warsh guy, and they believe he's going to be a hawk, and he hasn't actually done anything yet. And the market almost crashed last week. When Jerome Powell was there, and he was actively saying, I'm trying to crash this shit, the bulltards didn't believe him. It shot through. It's them. It's what the bulltards believe. Don't fight the bulltards. Don't fight the Fed if the bulltards aren't fighting the Fed. If the bulltards are fighting the Fed, fight the Fed with them. Go with the tards. That's why this strategy is called tard maxing. So I said this earlier, it's just the algo. I believe it's a thought terminating cliche. Don't get caught up in that. It's common among cults because bulltards are like a cult. And usually they just say it's the algos as a way to explain something that shows that fundamentals don't matter. Because part of the cult belief is that fundamentals matter and that this isn't all just what I said it is. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's just something that you say, a thought terminating cliche, when you don't want to think too hard about a point because it's causing cognitive dissonance, and you just want to dispel the mental discomfort as soon as possible so you can return to your cult-like behavior. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. That's the end. Went pretty long, but I hope that was useful. And I think a lot of people will disagree with everything I say. A lot of it's sacrilegious. Some people might think it's very good. Dylan Emerald Gray had a lot to say. I'll see if I can run through it really quick. I'm halfway through catching up. Here's a couple of my thoughts so far. Any stock market investment is gambling. I think that's true. Not gambling. Gambling is being promoted by corporations through Kalshi. That is very true. And I think it's also leading to these prediction markets being direct competitors for Bitcoin, crypto, and the stock market as well, because they're really the same thing at the end of the day. There's a massive amount of money sloshing around the system, and that's the liquidity I talked about. That money is stolen money from us over the last 15 years, especially $1 trillion around the world. Yeah, I must agree. That money is making markets to the biggest market makers, that is the biggest investors in the world. Yep. It's true that individual investors are collectively a kind of market maker, but it's not the same as being, say, BlackRock. Yeah, that's fair. Nothing wrong so far. We're in fictitious capital territory now more than ever. Yes, and one of the big tricks out of there that's happening is I think Bitcoin and crypto, I think the biggest function Bitcoin and crypto does is that it's like a Jean Baudrillard type of hyper real super reality, in that the excessive blatant fictitiousness of crypto as capital is there to distract you from how fictitious the capital of the regular stock market and economy is. Like, if you listen to everything I described just now, it's very clear how fake and vibes based and fictitious all this is. It's just crypto with the legitimating story. It's just crypto with the illusion of being based on something real and something fundamental, like the old stock market used to be. But what John Baudrillard said, that prisons were a hyper real version of regular society. They existed to be a fake opposite. Like this hyper real thing. Think of it as another way to describe it as a fake opposite, right? Prison is meant to make you believe that you're in freedom. Like, prison is a fake opposite. But what prison really is just a hyper real version of the prison or police state that you live in regularly. So it's like, you can tell yourself, I don't live in a oppressive, police monitored existence because I'm not in prison. Like, prison is where that stuff happens. I'm in freedom. I'm in the opposite. But if you look at what's happening with how police can abuse you at will, how they can take your house if they want to for eminent domain, how ICE can shoot you and it's fine. You know, we're in a what they call lesser confinement. We're in a lesser prison. But if you say that, you sound crazy. You sound conspiratorial, because there's something called prison exits, and people will tell you, like, go to prison, you'll see real oppression, you see real confinement. Like, you know, you're not grateful. Disneyland exists to hide the level to which California and everything around it is a theme park. You know, it's an extra theme park and a fake opposite of the real world to hide the level to which the real world become a giant consumerist theme park. Vegas is a concentrated den of sin, porn, and gambling that's created as a fake opposite to hide from you the extent to which regular human existence has become nonstop gambling, pornification, and sin. You know, you can tell yourself, oh yeah, Vegas is where that stuff happens. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I can lie to myself and tell myself that 90% of the year I live in the opposite of porn brain and gambling. But look at our lives. It's all Kalshi, poly market, degenerate gambling, stocks, crypto, OnlyFans, porn all over our phones, all this stuff. But we still tell ourselves this lie. And yeah, so crypto is like that for the regular stock market. Like, I described all the ways that the regular stock market is fictitious. But you know, a lot of people be investing in this craziness that makes no sense. You saw those guys in that video were like struggling with, why does this make no sense? It's because it's as logical as Bitcoin. Bitcoin sells because it sells. Amazon sells because it sells. But you could tell yourself, as the regular stock market gets more and more crazy and fictitious, we have this thing called crypto that we're allowed to villainize as the place where people invest in crazy fictitious things. We're in the legitimate, grown up, big boy stock market. The Tesla stuff definitely proved idiots rule for the moment. There is book length stuff to say about this, but there's a general venture capital culture around Amazon, Uber, no profits for decades, but two, yep. It's a fixed game us little guys are betting on. Yeah, because that's what people do now. People just try to see if it's a fixed game and just try to bet on the winners. That's why there's all these apps and videos now dedicated to tracking what congressmen are investing in. Like people have given up on stopping corruption. Now they're just like, you know what? Let's just let them rig the game. I've given up on not rigging the game. Let me just see if I can just follow their trades and at least align my interests with them. So like I'm gonna bet on what Trump does. I'm gonna bet what Nancy Pelosi does, and just try to ride with them. Once the next global crisis hits that wipes out a significant amount of capital, these bets will slow to a trickle, and then a whole new round of scams will come into being. I can see it. Profit and loss means nothing to the retail investors and sometimes to institutional investors now, but the latter are still the main market movers. Yeah, I don't think it really matters to institutional investors now either. I think they go with the vibes, but then they can't tell their people that we're doing this on vibes, so they have to pretend that it's about profit and loss. The rich, who own most of the market, are richer than ever until the next huge crisis. Huge amounts of money are sloshed into the system. That means they'll move around, but the overall movement is bullish until the next crisis. Yeah, I do think the liquidity is shrinking up, though. Yep, that's exactly what it is now. It's like the South Park episode with the elves. Get a bunch of vanity metrics, then huge profit. But what's the middle step? Nobody knows. Yeah, so I hope this was useful. yeah. I have hair now. There you go. Yeah, Foucault was onto a lot of it too, but he's also wrong about a lot of the stuff. Yeah, it's how I like Baudrillard a little bit better. But yeah, I hope this was useful to y'all, and share this with people. I want to get feedback on this, constructive feedback. I know a lot of people aren't going to like it. I know some people will. Yeah, but I'd like to hear what people think about it. I hope it didn't go too over people's heads. I tried to keep it on a level a high school person can understand, and I think for the most part succeeded. But I'm really curious to hear what all of you think, and I appreciate anybody who sat through all this. If you were able to sit through all this and get something out of it, I'm very happy. If you sat through it all and you thought it was total crap, then I still appreciate you spending your 2 hours with me, even if you don't agree. I appreciate you having an open mind and listening. And if anybody has refinements that they want to add to what I said, or things that they think I missed, or things that they think I'm totally wrong about, but want to express that constructively, like with actual thoughts, not just you're an idiot, please by all means do. You can also email at champagnesharks@gmail.com. Thanks everybody, everyone. Take care, and everyone be good. Peace.